everybody, this is Kiana Mayfield from LibraLunaCenter.com, and welcome to the new moon in Taurus horoscope for 2017. So I'm a little bit late with this video, but that's because I had a lot going on this weekend. I had a lot going on in the beginning of the week on Monday, so I didn't really have time to sit down and make this video, but I am back now, and tomorrow is the new moon in Taurus. So today we feel, which is Tuesday, right? The day before the new moon, which is Wednesday, April 26th, I believe, around 5 a.m. Eastern Standard Time is when the new moon will happen. But today we are feeling Mercury beginning to station over Uranus, right? It hasn't stopped yet, but it's slowing down because it will come out of retrograde on May 3rd. But there's a lot of juice happening in the energy. There's a lot of almost like our minds are in hyperdrive, right? We're trying to figure out what we need to be doing. We're trying to figure out the answers, and they're coming to us. The moon is in Aries today, so there's this impulse to kind of just, okay, I know what I want. Now I just need to go after it, right? I need to make the final leap. I need to do it right this very instant. We have that impulse, we have that hunger, we have that desire, that drive to figure out what it is that we truly want in our lives and to go for it. But the moon is dark right now. It's in its balsamic phase, which means it is in the sign before the new moon. And so while we do have this desire to step forward, you know, it's in Aries, so it's ruled by Mars, and Mars is in Gemini. We have this desire to finally jump into the new story of freedom and kind of have a breath of fresh air, you know, because our minds have been processing everything for the past month, right? As almost all of the planets have been retrograde in the sky throughout April, there has been a lot of reflection, there's been a lot of contemplation, and we're finally coming to realizations, right? We're finally at this turning point in our lives where we're getting almost a seal of approval to move forward. We're almost there, right? We have the impulse, we have the drive and the desire. We're getting the intuitive, instinctive downloads of what we truly feel. But for this new moon in Taurus, Taurus is the slowest sign of the zodiac. That is not an insult to all the Tauruses out there, by the way. Taurus is about grounding the fire, the impulse, the drive that was generated in Aries and making it real, making it concrete, making it heavy and able to be perceived, to be felt, to be, perceived by our physical senses. And the new moon in Taurus is a seed for what we want to plant, what we want to bloom in our future. Because Venus is out of retrograde. Venus is moving forward. It's on, during the new moon, it will be on the final degree, the anaretic 29 degrees of Pisces. And this is asking us to look at the highest, most spiritually integral aspect of ourselves, right? And to look at our life situations, and to look at how we're treating the people around us, and to look at how we're treating ourselves, and to kind of withdraw from it all. We don't need to make the final decision right now. That's not the time for that. The new moon in Taurus is, okay, I can make this real. I can plant the seed, which will bloom into the flower that will bear more seeds that I can plant in my overall greater life picture, right? It is the fruits that we will bear from the seed we're planting now. And the seed we're planting now has to do with the new values we're creating for ourselves, the new spiritual alignment we're making within our own makeup, right? Mercury on Uranus is expecting the unexpected. It's looking at what we've been dealing with since the end of March, and also the beginning of February, because that's when Venus was in its shadow phase, getting ready to go retrograde in the next month, which was March 4th. The issues we've been dealing with since the beginning of February are coming full circle now. And we're looking at what we were dealing with back then in a completely new way, because April has been a month of complete transformation within ourselves. And it is recognizing that what we create now does not necessarily have to turn out the way it did turn out, right? It's recognizing that with the new values we've inherited throughout this past month, with the new self we've been forced to create, we've been kind of steamrolled by the universe into burning everything away that isn't authentic to who we are, and showing up as this new person we want to become. We need to become what we want, right? Before we can receive it. And the new moon in Taurus is asking whatever dreams you've been having since, I would say since a year and a half ago, when the North Node entered Virgo, because that's when this whole chapter started, right? And we're closing that chapter now. So, and we're entering a new one, which is the North Node moving into Leo, which will be moving into the inner child within us, the inner heart space within us, within becoming and expressing the true creative potential of our hearts, of our fire, of our authentic flame, right? We're becoming the sons and daughters of God in all our divine glory, right? We're all extensions of the one infinite creator, right? And we are reflections, we are mirrors of what is happening on the larger macrocosmic scale. We are the microcosm of the macrocosm. We are the mirrors of the prime infinite creator. We are becoming our own creators, the own creators of our lives. We are becoming the magicians, right? And this new moon in Taurus, since Taurus is basically the entrance into the physical realm, since it is the guardian of the earth, right? it's about recognizing that though you do know what it is that you're wanting now, you're receiving the epiphanies, you're allowing it to download and to take root, because that's Taurus, right? It's taking root into your consciousness. We're seeing the highest spiritual ascension of our lives right now, and it's not necessarily easy. It's moving away from it being hard because Venus is coming out of its square to Saturn, and it will prepare to go into Aries, which will happen on the 28th. And it will stay on the 0-degree point of Aries until the 1st of May, which is coming into our heart's desires, which is coming into looking back at the things we were dealing with, right? And seeing what it truly is, what we truly are, and how can we take what's offered and allow it to grow into something that is sustainable for the long term, for this new chapter that we're beginning, right? Taurus is about the organic process. So it's not necessarily about jumping in and trying to force it to happen, right? You receive this intuitive urge to push, right? That's Aries. It is, this is my will, this is my way, I will make it happen. And that's not necessarily bad, because Mercury will be on Uranus until the middle of May. And until May 3rd, we're still processing, right? It's not like we're going to get the answers we need right now, right? We feel like we need. It's still playing with everything, right? It's still looking at the higher dimensional aspect of it. Uranus is the higher octave of Mercury, and it's looking at the entire, and it's making a trine to Saturn in Sagittarius, which is looking at the long-term view, looking at the higher perspective, looking at things all the way down the line, right? It may feel good right now, but is it going to feel good like 20 years from now, right? You want to look at the potential value, whatever you're looking at that you feel has value in your life. You want to look at its long-term value. Is it going to make you a better person 20 years from now if you make this decision right now? That is the key aspect of whether it's right for you or not, is to determine its long-term value in your life. Because this new moon is also in trine to the North Node in Virgo. So before we end this chapter, we're doing a lot of releasing, right? We're doing a lot of purging within ourselves. We're finally choosing to make the final ascension. But the new moon in Taurus is slow, right? It is the seed into the earth. It is incubation of the self, of this new self that generated in Aries, right? Because we want to make it concrete. We don't want to make it foggy and ephemeral like we used to, right? This is the long term. This is the real deal, basically. And there will be a lot of processing over the next week, for the next few weeks, as we move into this new chapter, about what it is that we're going to choose, what it is, who and what we're going to take with us into this new chapter. That is going to bear us the most fruits in the long term, even if it's not necessarily bearing fruit this very instant, because Saturn is, getting ready to make an exact square to Chiron by the end of the week, by April 30th. And we're already feeling it right now, right? This is the fear of our own healing process. This is the fear of karma repeating itself since Saturn is in retrograde. This is a lot of the density in our own minds, right? That says we will never be able to grow beyond this bubble that we've been playing out over and over and over again for years of our lives, right? We don't think we'll be able to transcend the story, but Saturn in square to Chiron is testing you to the limits of your ability to be able to become the healer of your own wounds. Chiron can go one way or the other, right? You can essentially live the story of suffering. You can live the story of having this eternal wound that you will never be able to heal, right? And that doesn't necessarily mean it's not true, because we're all wounded in some way. We're wounded as soon as we're born onto this planet, because we're separated. We have this perception that we're separated from our natural selves, from our souls, right? We're cut off from the spiritual world as soon as we're born. At least it feels like it. And this eternal sense of abandonment, of feeling lost, of feeling cut off, of feeling isolated from everyone else, everything that's made up in existence, right? This is the wound that we're all dealing with as human beings. But we can choose whether we want to live in the illusion, live in the matrix of that wound playing out for the rest of our lives, or we can choose to become our own healers. We could choose to open the veil into the illusion. We can recognize that we're not really separated from anything, that we're making all of this up as we go along, right? And we're recognizing that since we do have the power, since we've been having the power to make this up as we go along, to make up the fact that, or the supposed fact that we're separate from our soul, we can also choose to make up the fact that nothing is really gone from us, right? We can choose which frequency we want to live on. We can choose which reality we want to enter into. We can choose to not play the role of the victim anymore, to not play the role of the martyr, to not play this lost, helpless soul that we feel like we need to be, right? And it's an acceptance of the things you can't control, because, you know, Saturn is reality, right? It is the barrier that surrounds our solar system, that keeps too much random chaos, Uranus, from entering in, right? Because if we were just constantly bombarded by the galactical elements of the greater universe, right, we would basically explode. Nothing would make sense. We'd be basically just these amorphous blobs of chaos. And Saturn puts the guard up, right? It puts the limitations up. It puts the wall up, right? And it is recognizing that though we are on the way to returning to this sense of being reunited with our souls, there's a process that we must go through. if we were to receive it just all at once, the experience would essentially be meaningless. And the new moon in Taurus is seeding the fact that life is organic, right? The more you push, the more resistance you may feel, the more things may just kind of fall apart, right? Because there is a birthing process to every new beginning, right? When I think of Taurus, especially this new moon in Taurus, I think of this card right here, the Empress card in the tarot deck. She is the embodiment of the earth, right? She is the propensity to give birth to some new creative potential that was seeded, right? And the baby won't be born right off the bat, right? No, there needs to be an incubation process. There needs to be developmental stages in which this new creative potential can root itself into the womb, can root itself into the physical realm. And through these stages, we will seed more and more and more of the awareness that's getting ready to be born, right? But you cannot force it to come out before the developmental stages have come full circle, right? And this is what's being asked of us right now, to allow ourselves to incubate this new potential, to grow in our own pace, at our own natural pace. You don't need to force anything to happen. Things will happen when they need to happen, and you will feel it. You may feel it now, but the more you feel like you're running out of time, you know, you're kind of like, oh my God, I need to do this now, because there's just so much information being downloaded, right? You feel like you need to act on it right this very instant. But this is just the awareness that the fetus exists, that it is there, it is growing, and it is getting ready to be born. And Taurus is the enjoyment of that, right? It is allowing ourselves to be okay with the natural organic process that it is asking us to root into ourselves as we prepare to step into this new path. And the child will appear, will come out of this birthing process as we shift our nodal axis and leap into the new moon in Gemini, which will happen late May. This is the seed. This is the incubation. This is, and since it is basically isolated, there's, besides the trine to the north node, it is not really making any aspects to any other planet, right? And so this is pure and an unfiltered new moon. This is looking at the long-term potential for success, right? This is realizing that anything that's getting ready to be born throughout our beings, throughout our relationships, throughout our projects, it requires a new quality of being. You know, there's the saying that how we do one thing is how we do everything. And the new moon in Taurus is asking us to look at what are the simple, somewhat mundane aspects of how we are treating ourselves, how we are loving ourselves, how we are giving to ourselves, and how that reflects in what we're creating in the world through our relationships, through our projects, through even just how we desire in and of itself, how we express our emotions, how we what we choose to give value to in our lives. And this is the body wisdom. This is the transformation. It is recognizing that nothing will be how it was before. Nothing will be the same from here on out because we've changed who we are as people, and that will reflect in everything around us. And with Mercury retrograde in Aries on Uranus, and Mars, the ruler of Aries, in Gemini, the ruler of Mercury, we're receiving the truth, right? We are looking at what we truly desire, what we truly want to explore, where we want to step into, what we want to play with, and in order for this new chapter to be something that's stable, sustainable, and real to us, we have to become real to ourselves. And we have to have the wisdom that our body is receiving, the intuition that we're receiving. It needs to be seeded into us and into the physical, mundane actions of everything that we do in life. And this is somewhat the final confrontation. We're looking at what didn't work before, you know, how we showed up back in the day, you know. Are we going to still continue to show up in that way, or are we going to choose to upgrade and show up in a different way? So what didn't work before, what no longer works at all, needs to fall away completely, and what can potentially work? What is, you know, Mercury in Aries is looking at the life potential. It is looking at the fire, the inspiration in whatever we're perceiving, whatever is being downloaded into our consciousness, right? We don't need to necessarily let things go that still have the potential to grow into something more, right? You want to look at the long-term life potential of everything in your life, right? What gives you inspiration? What sparks something inside of you personally? You know, This is a completely selfish view of everything because Mercury is in Aries, and it's looking at what really lights you up, what really has the potential to enliven something inside of you that awakens the urge to explore new territory, new terrain in your life, right? To make the journey into the new chapter. And Venus entering Aries is looking at our true desires in life, what we really want to manifest, who we really want to be in our life. Both who we want to be personally, our self-image, as well as who is in our life that awakens this fire within us, that we are rooting into this new chapter, this new character we're becoming. We're grounding into reality, right? So who awakens that urge within you? Who will be a part of this new chapter in your life? Who are you going to take with you? And after the new moon, the moon will go into Gemini, which is, it will go over the Mars in Gemini as well. So it is connecting things because we're having all this mercurial energy in the air, mercurial and Uranian. We're looking at a greater dimension of our lives, a completely, like a curveball, right? A new perspective. There will be unexpected things coming out of the blue. It's going to stir this awake, right? There'll be a lot of almost investigating we'll need to do, a lot of turning of the wheels in our minds, a lot of processing this and ruminating that, contemplation, connecting the dots, right? As we're incubating this new self, this new chapter, as we are rooting this new sense of value that was awakened when around the 20th of April. And Mercury retrograde was conjuncting the sun in Taurus. We're looking at our body wisdom. We're looking at what's truly correct for us in our lives as we're incubating, as we're becoming something new entirely that we've never seen before. We're taking stock of our lives. It's like the silence before or after the storm, because the storm was throughout all of April, and May will be kind of the light at the end of the tunnel, right? And this is asking us to look at everything that is truly pure in our lives. What do we need to connect to that is going to get us on this next journey? What this week is all about ruminating, connecting the dots, and realizing that things that happened don't have to happen again. You know, Saturn square Chiron is realizing that some things work out in a way in order to get you to a certain stage in your consciousness where you can look at something completely, look at something you dealt with before in a completely new way, and choose whether you want to continue to live in the old world of suffering, to live in the world of woe, right? To look at things from the perspective of, this is happening to me and I need to react to it, right? Or you want to look at things in your life with wisdom and realizing that you can make new decisions. You can choose to play a new role, a new character in your own life story. And based on that decision alone, it does not have to turn out the way it has turned out in the past. Venus is direct now. And this is reconciling what we thought was lost. This is reconciling our true heart's desire. And to not be afraid to be honest with yourself, be authentic, live for what your heart truly wants, and recognizing that it does not have to be the way that you feel like it's always been. And while Saturn is squaring Chiron, the moon will be in Cancer. So this will be a very emotional end to our week, which will be April 30th. But it will be sextiling the sun in Taurus. So what new emotions do we need to generate within ourselves? What new feelings can align to this new reality, this new chapter? This is looking at our true feelings, and you do not want to deny what is really there, because it does not have to turn out the same way. The past does not need to repeat itself. This is, the final confrontation. Okay, maybe not the final confrontation, but it is this whole cycle, right? After Venus has gone direct, and as Mercury prepares to go direct as well, 3 days from this Saturn square to Chiron, right? It is recognizing that our suffering does not need to determine the course of our lives, that we can choose to live in either woe or wisdom. And based on the decisions we make from either of those places determines the course of our journey, determines the fruition, the success we will see. We are healing our fears. We are healing the parts of ourselves that sabotage what is good for us, what can allow us to grow into who we truly are. And we are transcending beyond it. This is the last week that the North Node, well, the mean North Node will transition. The mean North Node will transition into Leo by the end of this week. So, and the true North Node will transition into Leo around May 9th to May 10th. So this will be a little window of basically looking into the future. The veil will be, there will be a portal into this new chapter we're looking at in our lives, and allowing ourselves to download the body wisdom we need in order to enter it. So this is the final preparation, and I'm looking forward to how this will manifest in all of our lives. It will be unexpected, somewhat mysterious. It will be transformative. It will be interdimensional. And sometimes our minds can try to resist it. Sometimes our minds can try to fight Uranus, right? Because we are encased in our Saturnian shells. As a rule, as a general rule for being incarnated on Earth, is we need to live within the the Saturnian boundary of crystallization, because that is what defines a physical experience in the first place, right? And so our minds can try to resist Uranus and what it is teaching us, what it is trying to download into us to transcend the boundaries of our mental minds and look into a new dimension, right? It can try to resist. But this is asking us not to resist it. It is asking us to look at the big picture, to look in new ways that you never thought you'd be able to look at things before. And welcome the new journey into your life. So thank you for watching, and I hope that this new moon is seeding an entirely new orchestration into your life. I hope that it is giving you the ability to root this new courage we're creating, this new transformation that we've made all throughout April. I hope that you're beginning to see the fruits of it. And if you're not, recognize that it is coming, right? We're in the incubation phase right now as we're closing out this North Node in Virgo chapter and entering the North Node in Leo. And it will be so much more exciting. It will be something that we have all been silently waiting for in the back of our minds. So thank you for watching, and thank you for all the subscribers. Thank you for all the likes. Thank you for all the comments. I truly enjoy each and every one of you, and I will see you next week.